Ladies and gentlemen, Kristen Johnston. And I was telling you about my insecurities with, pronouncing names before, but at least yours is relatively easy. And I've only known you like, I don't know, years and years.
Yeah.
But still, every time it never fails. When these get on, in front of the microphone, I like overthink the little things.
Yeah.
Little things like that. But anyway,
I get it. It's fine.
Yeah. Super excited to have you on. And I'm excited to pick your brain because, like we talked about, I have known you for a long, long time. But we've had several work meetings and, gone to your businesses and all that good stuff. But I've never gotten to like really hear.
I know. I've never really actually talked.
So I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to tee it up a little bit though. So for everybody listening, you're a mother, you're a wife. I'm going to call you a serial entrepreneur. Is that a fair assessment at this stage?
Sure, it is.
I mean, I think once you're beyond,
it's a curse. It's not a blessing.
Well, let's talk about that. No. So, but no, I'm really excited because, there's been some of those times we've even met literally, I think at this table before and, kids are in the playroom and watching you juggle stuff. Before we started recording, you're like, let me text my mom, guys, the kids, make sure everything's squared away. And, there's a group of people that I hold to a really high regard and it's working mothers. Then you throw in entrepreneur mothers and it's a whole nother world there. So talk to me about that. Let's start there. Balancing motherhood and multiple businesses and all of that. Talk to me. I want to start at the beginning with your I was going to say your first business, but now I'm questioning if it was even your first business, but agritourism and that whole world. Walk me through how that started.
Well, that was not ever intentional. It was never planned anything. I worked for a guy at an oil and gas company, and I rose up in that business from payroll up to HR and up to being his assistant. And I was there for 7.5 years. And then the downturn in the natural gas, and he saw that ending, and they were getting slower. And so he knew that was he probably wasn't going to need me anymore. And he had sold his company. So he was acting as a president of that division, but he was no longer the CEO, I don't think, structurally. And he was out of town a lot, and his job was kind of moving out of town, and he was barely ever home. And so my position was had to be cut. And he actually owns the land that we do jackalope on and have the pumpkin patch. But me proving myself to him over the years and working my way up through the company, and then being his assistant for over 5 years, proved to him like I can do a lot of things.
Got this, right?
Yeah, and he trusted me enough to be like, if you want to use my ground, I'll partner with you and you can make this work if this is something you want to do. And the idea was more of Luke, my husband, wanting to grow pumpkins, and he had just recently started farming for him. And he's like, sure, if you want to grow pumpkins, you grow pumpkins. And then we saw Sutherland Farms was in Aztec. They retired. And I told them, you know what? If this is what you want to do, we should just try it all and see how that goes. Yeah.
I want to hear more about that because I think, and you know this now, and we're going to talk about the blessing and a curse. See, but I think one of the coolest parts about entrepreneurship is that you create something like, obviously I talk to, lots of business owners, whether I'm at work or podcasting or whatever. And my world's a little bit different because what we create is intangible, like I do marketing or advertising. Like I never can like hold it or feel it. But I remember when I first got my like business bank booklet, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's
real.
Like it says to send digital on the check. And then I'll never forget the day that my first invoice got paid.
Yeah.
I was like, that is like the wildest.
I'm making money.
The wildest thing. Yeah. But you get to deal in, you're in a cool space with that business because you get to do, it's tangible. Like you can see the work. And I do want to talk about that because it's been so cool to see how you guys have transformed
Mhm.
that land. And you're creating an experience for people. So it's like in both
Yeah.
of those worlds. But what I want to hear about is more of that, like the idea coming to reality, like going from growing pumpkins to, obviously you had a bigger idea.
Yeah.
Walk me through what that's like.
Well, we were given like the go ahead to go ahead and do it, and that we could do it. I did as much research as I could possibly do. I figured out the groups to be a part of, and that would help me like do the research that I needed to do. And so that's exactly what we did. And we made this decision in like November of 2020, and it's either November or December. And we joined this group. It's called The Maze. And it's over like 300 other farms throughout the country that are a part of it. And every year we go on a farm tour in some region of the country and see all these different farms. And we have a convention, and there's vendors and all sorts of things. And we get to learn and have just a great experience. And so that was the first thing we did. So that was in like February.
Like seeing other.
Yeah. And it worked out so amazingly, because I think when we made that decision, I went down to McCall's farm in Moriarty, New Mexico. And that place is immaculate, like insane. It's like an amusement park. And I'd actually never been to a pumpkin patch in my life to enjoy it. Yeah. And so I go down there. Like, I'd never been to Sutherland's. I don't know why my parents never took me, but they didn't.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. And so I went down to McCall's. It was after their season, after they'd closed, and she like showed me their whole place. And I came home and I'm like, I don't know how we're ever gonna like do anything near this scale.
Right.
Like, we can't do that. They have over 100,000 visitors a year in a fall. But that was like where my mind went. This last year we had over 12,000.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And our first year we had just under 10. Well, probably about 9.
Yeah.
And so we've grown, at least.
So cool.
And so then we went on this farm tour a couple months later, and the farms that we saw, I'm so grateful. That was the best thing I ever did, because the farms we saw were like at a scale, they were still larger than what we are, but they were at a scale of what we could actually like feel and like imagine what we could have based on what they had. And so that's kind of how we modeled what we built, is based off that first farm tour that we went on, because without it, our model and what we have and the activities we have and the atmosphere would be totally different. Like, I think we would probably try to have been modeling after either Sutherland's, which was pretty basic, or McCall's, which is on the other end of the spectrum. And so going on that farm tour just like laid the ground rules for everything. And out in the Midwest, in the South, there's pumpkin patches every freaking hour, like, that you drive. They're everywhere. And so the competition is pretty rough out there. Like, if you don't want to go there, go the other direction an hour.
So forces kind of.
Yeah. Their standard is higher.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we went into it. And that's why people love it so much, is because it's not just like a backyard playground that you just like threw some stuff together and said, here you go, have fun, kids. But people feel safe, and it's clean, and our stuff is at high quality. And so, but that's where our model came from, is by seeing those other places where their standard was a lot higher than anything people out here had ever seen.
And that was, okay, so I'm just trying to check the timeline on that. November, go ahead if you need to check.
No,
I know how it is.
Turning it off.
You said November 2020 is kind of when like the transition, was.
That's when we were like, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Decided you were going to do it. That's at the tail end of the fall, obviously.
Yeah.
So there's a whole year now or there's 10 months or whatever until doors would open. What did that look like? Like, did you still have your job? Were you guys?
It did.
Okay.
Yeah. I was still working full time and nothing happened. We filed all of our business licensing stuff incorporated the 1st of January of 21 and continued to do research, figure out what I needed, planned, did all of that stuff behind the scenes. But physically, nothing happened until August.
Jeez.
Yeah. And it was like out there where it's on that hill. And if you look up to the west, how it's just brush and trees, that's what it looked like until about August 15th.
I can't even, and most people listening probably don't understand like the work that went into that.
Yeah.
I think I at least have a little bit of a, I live on 40 acres.
Yeah.
And it's like never ending.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in fact, when we were talking, I think it was last year, we are talking about like, how you guys have planted all the grass seed and all that stuff. And
it's impossible to keep alive.
And I'm constantly just chasing scrub oak. And
yeah,
I mean, it's like never ending. And I just have a little pocket, where I'm trying to live. So I can't even imagine like, and that's why I think your business is so cool in that sense that, it's like I provide a service. There's a lot of people that provide products or, things like that. But you get to like turn this thing into an experience, which has got to be though. What I'm curious about is like the vision to turn it into it. Like, because for most people, you would look at that and not be able to see what it could turn into. And then even if you could see it, the amount of work required to get there would be just daunting. Like, walk it through that. Like, did you map it out? Was it a vision? Did you just...
We've never mapped it out. Okay. And we probably should have to begin with, because for the first 3 years, we spent too much money and time moving stuff to put it where we wanted it. But we also didn't know really how the land worked, and in the sense of like where people would gravitate.
Right.
So we learned that, and luckily our stuff wasn't permanent. Now we've got a lot of permanent structures, so it's a little bit more difficult to move everything that we have where it is where it is at this point. But the first year, no, we chose the things that we wanted to have. We put them in there, and looking back at pictures, like we thought we had something so cool and how great it was. And looking back at pictures, I mean, I know it was. We did a great job, and
I mean, it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was still at a higher scale, I think, and still a higher standard than what everybody in this area had ever seen.
Right.
But now we look at it, and it is just like drastically different than what it was the first year. And I'm proud of it now. Like, probably not this last year, but the year before, it was like something I was so proud of, where the first 3 years I would look at it and be like, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. And that's, again, why we kept moving things. But at the stage that it is now, I feel so proud of what we've built. And I'm excited to continue building on it. Yeah. But it was definitely not like, here's where I want this. Here's where I want this. Like, it was not meticulously planned out.
Just going for it.
Yeah.
Which I actually relate to that a ton. And you said something that stood out to me. I think you said something to the extent of like, it was very expensive, and a lot of, basically you alluded to the fact that there was a lot of mistakes, quote unquote, made in terms of like how it was laid out and having to move stuff and, all those extra expenses, which, it's funny because I've come to the belief now with business ownership that there is, the only way to where you want to get is through just a ton of failure. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there would not have been...
You don't succeed without failing.
Yeah, there's not like a master plan, or even if you had it mapped out or whatever, it's... And then simultaneously, though, it's interesting because there's like this acknowledgement that we have to just fail our way to where we're headed. And then we're just dumb enough to do it anyway.
Yeah.
But
you can't like push past the failure, and it's painful. But if you ever want to be successful, you just have to push through it.
What choice do you...
Because I could have just like stepped off and been like, well, we haven't made money for 3 years. So, and we've put all this time and energy into it.
Talk to me about that. Because I'm fascinated with that. And I hear it from a lot of people, and I relate to it in so many ways. Like, I continued to delay my gratification at Ascent.
Yeah.
And it's the weirdest thing. Like, I'm paying my people more money. I'm hiring more people. I'm investing into software and systems and like all this stuff that I'm just like, all right, someday my day will come. Someday will, and all of a sudden it's been 5 years. I haven't had a raise.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, but I'm still just like trusting it. But I have at least, you know, paid myself a salary.
Yeah.
And
I have
covered my bills. You know what I mean? I want to know what that's like and kind of your mindset, because you said 3 years didn't make money. Do you mean that you didn't, or like the business itself?
The business didn't. I did not.
So you weren't on payroll the first few years. Business was in the red, like full blown investing stage.
So we did it without any debt. We had sold. You were right. It was not our first business. We had our own set of show cows, and we sold them in 2020. And whenever we sold those, that was like kind of why we were able to start Jackalope Acres, is because we're like, well, what are we going to do with all this money?
Right.
I don't want to pay taxes on it. So we invested it into that business, and then our partners did the same, and they matched what we did. And we just made it through without any loans, anything, which was great. But yeah, we were in the red. I think maybe the third year we made like $5,000, but we couldn't take it out because then we would have no money. And so we left it in, kept it there. And then last year fourth year, we made a little bit more, but took out like 5,000.
Right.
And that was it. And then this last year we actually made some money. So that was really nice. Year 5.
What keeps you going then? Like, I want to hear about, you know, because we talked about blessing and curse, and we will get back to that, but it's hard. Like, building a business from scratch, I don't think anybody has any idea how, like, just visually difficult it is. And, you know, then you combine that too with years of no personal pay, you know, benefit or whatever.
And I would say this past year, it was really difficult because not to like keep going, but just be like, when is it ever going to pay off?
That's my day.
Yeah. Because it's a lot of hard work, long days, long hours.
It's a risk.
So much energy and like
stress.
Yeah.
You're responsible for every problem.
Yeah.
What keeps you going then? Like especially those first few years. What?
Because I knew it would make money. And I love it. That is like the difference between two different businesses. Like, I absolutely love everything about what I do there, whether it's hard or not, but I get to be outside. My kids can be right there.
Yeah.
They're having fun. They're learning like everything. And there is risk with having them there, but as long as there's no equipment around, it's not like heavy risk.
Right.
And they're just having fun being outdoors, and they love it. And it's more conducive to the lifestyle that I want to live. And
meaning like the agricultural side, outdoors,
yeah, and ag, which is a different story, but yeah.
So you think well, I guess to unpack it, two things. One is that you love it, but then second, and I think importantly, you mentioned too, though, that you knew it would work at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I knew my financials weren't where they should have been, and I knew there was a lot of controllables that needed to change, and I knew that we could do it.
So did you get intentional about you mentioned that your finances, you know, weren't where they should have been or whatever. Like, did you know which levers to pull, like how to adjust things, and kind of like on the money model side of it, how to adjust as the years progressed? Or was it one of those where like we just needed to sell more tickets or get more feet in the door? Like, I'm kind of curious if it was, if you pulled some levers to, you know, help have it change over time.
I think
or
both.
If it was just time.
I think both. Because every year we have plenty of people who come back that have never heard, or not come back, but who come in that have never been there. And so it's more growth by word of mouth and just people figuring out about us. But it's also providing an experience every single year that keeps them coming back. Right. And us adding activities like we do every year helps that. Like I think we could still do it without adding stuff. People would still come back because of the atmosphere that we've created, but it excites people.
Yeah.
And like it makes them want to tell other people about it. Like, oh shoot, have you been out here? Or if you haven't, they're going to have this year. You got to come out. So I think investing the money to make it a better experience causes more people to come in, but also the growth comes in.
Yeah.
And being able to control the expenses. The first few years, we spent a lot of money on infrastructure.
Right.
So.
And then that's done, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this past year, I kind of was just like, no, we're not doing anything. Like, we don't need those things.
We don't need to.
We've lived 3 years without it and done fine.
Right.
So we don't need it this year. Let's make some money. And then once we make some money, that I need to prove to myself that I was right about this.
Yeah.
Like, once we make money, then we can move forward.
Right.
But if we just continue to not make money, then it's never going to feel like we're moving anywhere.
Right.
So there had to be that this year, I think, specifically, because it had been building that way. And had we invested more into activities and more into infrastructure, then we'd be in the same place.
Then we'd be, yeah. Which is an interesting, it's cool that you identified that, because I'm in that like moment right now where I'm like, when do I, like at some point I need to be like, you know, full stop. Like we got to start, you know, having cash reserve, like got it built into this thing. But it's such a balancing act because
it's like gambling.
Yeah, because we're growing like crazy. And so, you know, we need this software or
and I know if I do this, I'll grow this.
Yeah.
And this will happen.
And I'm trusting it. And it does happen.
Yeah.
But it's like, at what point am I like, okay, you know, no more like reinvestment in or less or whatever. Yeah. And I have yet to figure that out. But
yeah. But I think you're smart in paying yourself all those years. Because
the most underpaid employee though. And that, yeah, it's one of the things I'm trying to figure out too, is like, you know, because we do it for a reason. Like we want to have freedom and flexibility. I want to make a lot of money too. Like,
yeah. Everybody should.
Yeah. Like no shame.
Like nobody does anything that because they want to not make money.
I'm trying to like make real money, you know?
Yeah.
And then there's all these days where I'm like, golly, do I own the business or the business own me? You know? And I'm like, the most underpaid, overworked employee at Ascent, you know? And I'm starting to get there though. Like and what I'm trying to figure out is if it's just, I think where I'm at is, it won't be about me, but just a quick anecdote is there's like this weird middle ground where like, I'm almost a medium-sized business now, but I still have small business resources.
Yeah.
And it's like, I need like big business resources to solve big business problems, you know?
Yeah.
Because I almost feel like if it were one way or the other, it would be different, like smaller or bigger. So I'm going to go for bigger, obviously. Yeah. What choice do you have? But yeah, it's an interesting like dilemma all the time.
It is.
Because you think that there's going to be this like, you know, you see the Instagram posts about entrepreneurship and you're like, sign me up.
Well, or the ones that are like, oh yeah, you can make $200,000 overnight. Like, no, you cannot. And if you can, that's a scam.
Yes. And if anyone says they can't,
yeah. Yeah. And
no shortcuts.
No. Right. And I would say like what you said about failure is totally true. Like we didn't have, I would say we had very good success with the pumpkin patch our first year, but it was a lot of hard work to get there.
Right.
But there was a lot of times where you feel like a failure because you didn't uphold to something that you thought you should have done.
Some bar that you say.
Yeah. And like I said, I wasn't proud of it until our 4th year in.
Right.
And I was like so self-conscious of different things. But once you came that year that we planted the grass.
Yeah.
And just how gorgeous it was. And that I think the grass makes like all the difference.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Those little things though that you wouldn't know until you do it.
Yeah.
And same world here. I mean, I'm totally different business, obviously, but it took about 4 years before I at least felt like it was not fragile anymore. Mm-hmm. Like at least it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
You'd have to really piss some people off.
Yeah, like I'd have things have to go way wrong
Mhm.
for me to be looking for another job or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, no, I'm telling you, I believe adamantly, and it's helped me too because the failures continue. I think for all of us in
Yeah.
business, that I've learned to just be like, that's just part of the journey.
Mhm.
Like there's no shortcut. There's no magic Instagram post we could watch or podcast we could listen to or whatever. It's like, you have to just keep going. Yeah.
Well, and I think that I would recommend a seasonal business to anybody.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I would say it's really difficult be in the forefront of it just because it's like fast, hard, go. But then it's done. You can like take some time to evaluate what you did wrong, what you're going to do the next year, and you've got a whole year to plan it. Where with like an all year round business, like you're constantly dealing with problems. You're constantly trying to figure out different issues and how to solve it and how to be better.
And you never turn it off.
No, you can never turn it
Just
off.
finally right now booked my first ever family vacation in next November. It's that far out.
Wow.
And it'll be my first vacation.
Where are you going?
In 5 years. We're going to Mexico.
Sweet.
Side note, I got this great new business credit card with points. So I'm all hooked up.
Like, yeah, spend $100,000 in 3 months. I got that.
So I'm like, great, points are like flowing in. So I'm feeling like have a little perk finally. But yeah, no, and I there'll probably never be like the ideal time for it. So I just,
Like November 27?
Yeah. November 20th,
Oh, okay.
this year.
Okay.
But it's like,
wow.
but it's in like 10 months.
Yeah.
Like it's far. But it's finally, it's on
I
the
know.
calendar and like it's happening.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting the seasonal thing because I think too, especially for like, people who are curious about entrepreneurship, there's always kind of this narrative of a side hustle, like
Yeah.
out on the side or whatever, which I think is a great idea. But I love that idea of exploring ideas of a seasonal business because you can kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know, build up to it, experience it, debrief, build up to
Yeah.
it again. It's very interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
Like, and I think before I had an all year round business, because of how hard it is to get to the opening day, I think there's so much to say, like, it is harder than that, but at least you can turn it off and like really take some time for your thoughts and say, going forward, here's how I'm going to proceed.
And you can roll out like fundamental changes, not like an all staff meeting and then hope that half of it sticks for the next week. Yeah.
I mean, employees are hard for that business for sure.
Yeah.
But then if you don't like them, you never have to see them again.
Like everybody's simple.
Yes.
Pros and cons to that.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, okay, so you're now going to be into your 6th season at Jackalope, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So 5 years in though, you're dumb enough to start another business.
Yeah. Dumb enough is the exact word I tell everybody.
I want to know about, because, it's interesting. I don't know. I'm starting to feel an entrepreneurship itch, coming again. I'm like, I don't have the energy for it yet or the time, but I sense myself like curious about, other ideas.
Yeah. This would work really well.
Yeah.
You could do this. Everybody needs that.
Right. So talk to me about that. So you decide now it's been going for 5 years. Mm-hmm. It's making money now. Like it's at a good spot. Obviously it's continuing and improving, like, not going anywhere, but you decide to keep your entrepreneurship journey going and start I was going to call it a restaurant. Well,
it's technically a restaurant.
Yeah, but a food business.
Yeah.
What made you think that? What? Well, yeah, just tell me.
I honestly have gone back and forth, and I think part of why I was so eager to do it, not just for like the passion of healthy food and like knowing that people need what we offer, but more of like from a selfish standpoint was like has to do with 5 years in a business, hadn't made money. Like I have some restrictions that I can't do what I want just because I don't have, I can't do it myself. My husband's farming full time. I can't do it all. And so I think there was just like that.
You mean like from an energy perspective? Like there's goals you have, or like
There's just a lot of
or
things.
accomplish?
Yeah, there's things that I want to accomplish and things that I want to do, but without any help, I can't do it alone.
Right.
And just as far as like physically and mentally, like I can't plan it all and then just put somebody on the job.
Right.
Like it's just, I don't know if it's because I had kids, but it's just not there in my brain and I can't do it. And so being kind of like stopped when I'm like, I want to push, and I want to do this. And I want to have, there's more that I want to do. Yeah. And I want to have different festivals, and I'm limited onto what I can do.
That's fascinating because it's like I experience a version of that here, and it's different now because like when we were smaller, I could move the needle in a day.
Yeah.
Like if I need to go get some more accounts or, to improve stuff, whatever, like I could just like do it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's bigger. It's like a machine that to make a meaningful impact on it, the time horizon is so much longer now.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me because I'm a little bit of an instant gratification guy, but I think I relate to you in the sense of like, there's this ambition and there's a lot of reward that comes from making improvement and progress and seeing the result of it. And, in your world, it's so tangible, like that. And then when it gets to a point where like the same energy output is not,
and you're like walking into a glass wall is what it feels like.
The return on energy starts to change a little bit. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So you decided that the outlet is something new?
I don't think I consciously decided that, but I do think I was like, well, if I'm stuck here and this is all I can do,
I got to put it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we were going to buy a prepared meals business in Farmington, and that just didn't go through. And so then we randomly like met an owner of a prepared meals place in Kentucky, and he like talked to us about it. And then Luke was like, you should do it if you want to do it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. And I do. I love what we offer and what we're doing, but it has been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Really?
Ever. Yeah.
Why?
Just the learning curve. Like I'd never even worked in a restaurant. I worked as a barista for a summer, and I didn't go into it with the mindset that it was a restaurant or that it would be like dealing with food. I kind of modeled my idea of it off of the business we were going to buy, which was a terrible idea, only because they were going into their 5th year of business, and we can't do that starting a business. And so I also didn't go into it feeling like this is going to be my job.
Right.
Like every detail, every aspect, every position is mine, and that I had hired people to do it.
Right.
And just learned a lot and realized like I didn't need all the people that I had, and I should have been more involved in the beginning and I should have like focused more on my processes, not just like the creation of the business. And I should have been more focused on like the operations, because where we have it right now is like, I'm still spending more time there than I would like, but I'm probably there 25 hours a week.
Instead of 40, 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was going through it all and not having like everything, all the processes streamlined and simplified, especially in October. That was rough.
Right.
Because
you're doing both.
At the beginning of October, my cook walked out because he lost his mind. And so I was working. I'd come in, cook at the restaurant for 5 days a week because that's all I could really handle. Then, or I guess it was 4 days. Then I would be out of the pumpkin patch Friday, Saturday, Sunday, morning to dark. And then do it all over again.
Yeah.
And that was rough.
So I don't want to jump to conclusions, but was there a demand problem or no? Because you're cooking, multiple hours, 5 days a week, like business is there.
Yeah.
It's more of you're the one.
It was, again,
process.
Controllables.
Yeah.
That I wasn't paying enough attention to. And that is hard pill to swallow when you go back and you look at stuff and you're like, I spent how much on labor and I didn't notice till 3 months later.
Right.
Because I thought it was fine based on like what our sales were versus what my payroll was. Like that seemed fine. And we were learning. So I thought 50% payroll was fine. No.
Right.
It isn't. And I didn't even figure that out till it was far too late. But it's worked out because now I've simplified everything. If like it happens in every restaurant, you open, you peak, and then you like drop down and you stabilize. And like we're kind of in that stabilization, but I think we'll come this spring, we'll pick back up. But even if we pick back up to where we were, we can do it with a quarter of the amount of labor.
Yeah.
That now
lessons learned.
Yeah.
Like,
but a huge failure.
Yeah.
Huge failure.
But without it, how would you know?
Yeah.
I mean, when I started Ascend, I modeled it off of when I was at my last job, there was a white label business that we would send work, and whatever.
Yeah.
And I just copied it.
Yeah.
Like pricing model, everything. And it took me years. I'm still learning, actually, how flawed it was.
Full disclosure.
All these things. But it's interesting because I would imagine, I want to hear your perspective on it. I would imagine when you started Nourish, the primary concern was demand. Like, would there be enough? Like, I would imagine.
I wasn't concerned about that at all.
You weren't?
No.
Okay. Was there any fear, any hesitation?
No, and that's probably an issue.
Or a superpower?
No, it was, I knew people here want it. Like, I think the concept is a little rough for people to understand, and it's hard for them to grasp just because of how we package the meals.
Right.
And I have like some plans later on that could potentially move it, but no, not right now. But I never thought, like, I've always had like this dream and this fear, like nobody's going to show up to this party that I had.
Right.
But I didn't have that with Nourish.
Interesting.
I had it with Jackalope.
Yeah.
And I have it every year with Jackalope.
Right.
Like, what if we go down in numbers?
Right.
Even though the economy is trash.
Right.
Like, I know people aren't spending on entertainment what they want, but yeah, I didn't have the fear that the demand wouldn't be there.
Yeah. It's funny. When I started Ascend, my only fear was demand. And now that's the only thing I don't worry about.
Yeah.
In fact, too much.
But it's changed so much in
like
5 years.
Oh gosh, dude, unrecognizable.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally not even the same. I was so clueless going in.
Yeah.
But I was speaking of mistakes, the fun anecdote, I was so clueless that my first 2 hires were sales reps. Like before I even have,
Yeah.
operations and fulfillment and process. And I just like hire, and then I went 4 years without any, and then now I have 1.
Yeah.
And much better ratio of 1 dog up and 8
employees.
Yeah. But anyway, I think that's cool though that you thought that was never a concern, but that it was in other parts of and like your social or like other parts of your life, sometimes that's a concern. That's very interesting, Rudy.
I think just knowing the condition of the state of where we're moving in health and wellness, that's why it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
Because I thought, this is the time to do it.
Right.
And everybody's figuring out that our food is garbage. Everybody's figuring out that putting this stuff in your stuff is not necessary. And when we can provide something in full transparency, say, this does not have anything in it.
Right.
And I think the biggest pushback we have is whether or not it's organic. But one thing that really bothers me is organic. And because it's just not, like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
The nutritional content, I mean, it does matter. I shouldn't say it doesn't. But when things are labeled like organic cane sugar, do you actually watch how sugar is processed? It doesn't matter if it's organic. So those kinds of things, and that's where like the organic thing, it just like people see organic and that's where they go. Or like organic cane sugar, it doesn't matter in any way at all. Like one bit.
Right.
But just getting to that point where I knew we're going to be okay because this is what people want.
Yeah.
And they're going to want it more as time goes on.
Right. And it'll just build.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like any business. You just got to survive. You
Yeah.
just got to stick around.
Mhm.
And it'll. So I'm curious. Nourish has been around
Almost a year.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about a year mark. And it sounds like you said kind of like that peak stabilization, demand wise and all of that. I want to hear kind of like the experience differences and how you're juggling both now. So, because timeline wise, it opened in October, right? Which would have been tail end of the season for Jackalope or
No, we opened in March.
Okay. Anyway, this will be coming into now, like this next round will be when both are like really rocking and rolling, cranking. Or were both businesses?
They were both going.
They were.
Because we opened March last year.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, I mean, we had like our best month in May. So it was up and down after that. And that's just normal.
Right.
But it was just really hard. And so I had originally hired a manager for Nourish. I mean, I kind of did like the totally what you did. Like you had your sales team before you had anybody to do it. And I had a manager who didn't know what the hell she was doing and didn't care either. And I should have been there more.
Right.
And it was all of my fault. And I learned that, swallowed that, moved on. But now I'm there and you can take this out. But I'm actually like trying to build it up to sell it.
Yeah.
And just because of me being pregnant and having a family and having that other business, like I said, I've never done anything more challenging in my life.
You can only juggle so much.
Like everyone says, like being a new mom is the hardest thing I've ever done. No. Go do this.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was mostly because of my kids. Like if I didn't have kids, I could do it all day long.
Right.
Like no big deal.
And now there's more opportunity costs.
Yeah.
Because now wherever you are matters.
Yeah.
You're away from either the other business or the family or yourself, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, we joked earlier, but seriously about like the blessing and the curse of it. Talk me through that. Like because at the same time I see it kind of light you up. Like I see.
Yeah, for sure.
She come in. So talk to me about like your experience and kind of that dichotomy of how just impossibly difficult it is and how great, it is.
Yeah, I just think like it being the hardest thing ever, I think a lot of it had to do with my pride. Like I don't think I've ever leaned on my parents as much as I did in the last 6-8 months.
Because of not having answers, money, just support system?
Just everything was wrong. Yeah. Like learning. Like I had 8 or 10 employees. And when we first started, that were 2 were getting 40 hours a week. 2 were getting about 20, and then I had a couple getting like 10 to 15.
Right.
Like, that's insane. And then it all happened within like 2 weeks that I lost the majority of my team because of that manager that I had hired.
Right.
And she just like poisoned the entire freaking tank. And I'm so grateful for that, beyond grateful. But over that, it was just like one thing after another, and like me having to drop everything to take care of that, or it was going to fail.
Right.
And we did take out a loan for this business because I don't know how you build a kitchen with nothing.
Right. You need
But
some,
and
the risk is more.
yeah. And so it was just like I had to lean on my parents because they were the only people I had to like take care of my kids.
Right.
Because I don't just send them with anybody. And them just knowing like the challenge that I was going through, and it just like it would just be like one thing after another. And it was like this employee would quit. And then it was just constant.
Yeah.
And so I think it being as hard as it is, but then you do like get a little rush, and when something happens and you're like, oh, that's great. And I just think I'd love to stay a part of it. But like you're saying, a blessing and a curse. Like I went through all of this and like telling myself I am never starting another business ever, ever, ever. And then like you get out of it and you're like, I wonder about this.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
literally in this conversation alluded to ideas for like how it could grow,
Yeah.
evolve, or
Yeah. And not just like leave it alone. And yeah. So I think it is a blessing and a curse, just like because you hear so often like people saying, if you don't take a chance, you'll just regret it.
Right.
Like you don't know what you don't try.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I don't know if I would regret not have done this,
I
but
don't know though, because gosh,
living in wonder, I think, would suck.
There's so many good days and bad days, and I think the thing that a lot of people don't get with entrepreneurship is one, like you said, you're isolated. Like it is lonely.
Oh yeah.
Like I
don't have a single friend anymore.
I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, because and I have such a great marriage, like everything's great, but you come home and you're worn out. Like I don't have a ton of energy left or whatever. And best way I could articulate it is that in most worlds, you're either tasked with making a high quantity of low important decisions or a low quantity of high importance decisions.
Yeah.
I have to make a high quantity of high importance decisions nonstop with no advisory board, nobody to bounce idea. It's like I'm doing what I think's best, and there's like 15 ripple effect, consequences that are going to come from it. And that's just today's catastrophe. And I got to deal with tomorrow's and the one after and the one after.
Well, and it's hard to find people that like are in that same boat.
Yeah.
Who actually understand what is happening.
Right.
And I definitely, having a seasonal business, you don't get that. Like, yeah, it's lonely for a couple of months because that's all you're focusing on is getting it going. But then you have time.
Right.
And you can make things work. But when you just like go in and you don't have the energy at any time, just like you're saying, and it's really the people who do understand are busy not having the energy too.
Yeah.
So
that's what's interesting. So, because I have a guy who owns I have a friend who owns an outdoor construction company in Texas, and he's a client, but we've kind of become buddies. And we were talking like, having a conversation about like second guessing or like wondering if we're in the right industry or like, whatever and all this stuff. And I think a lot of it's dangerous because we probably have similar algorithms on social media. It's like the gurus, the entrepreneur guy and like the motivation, whatever.
Yeah.
And you start to think like everyone has it figured out except for me.
Yeah.
What the heck? Like, there's got to be.
It's freaking deadly.
And it's all though fake.
Yeah.
Like I have yet to talk to one business owner that just like has it figured out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think everybody's out there the level of it changes for sure.
Yeah.
Like, but nobody really knows.
No, but and if you do have it figured out, you're dealing with more stresses.
Right. Now your problems are way bigger.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Because you have everybody else doing everything, so you can actually like take a breath. But then stressing about somebody else doing that work is like,
it's crazy. That's been probably my hardest learning curve, and I'm almost I'm in fact I'm there. Like I'm flirting with it now, is because Mike, I've had an interesting, like it's been my personal brand and then Ascent Digital kind of like growing together. You know, like Ben and Ascent, like kind of its thing, and then now trying to work on Ascent being a brand that can live without me. You know, I can not have to be the face of it all the time and whatever. And so to do that, I have to just trust my team and like, you know, let it happen. And it's been a very powerful learning experience for me because in many cases they do it better than I would.
Yeah. But that's the point, is to find people who can do it better than you.
And those people are expensive.
Yeah.
So then it's like back to this whole, you know, like.
But they're better at it than you because they're not doing 15 things.
Exactly. Right.
And that's why like not everybody can be an entrepreneur or a business owner because they have to do that.
Do one thing. Or two or whatever.
And that's their purpose.
Yeah.
Is like you have to do the one thing that you're the best at.
Right.
So everybody else can do that same thing.
And then I'm not doing 27 things anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just 20.
Yeah. I let go of 7.
Yeah.
1%.
But I'm interested too I want to hear about like how, and maybe especially the experience with Nourish, like how that's changed, like, you know, you as a person. Like you had the show cows. I'm sorry if my terminology is not correct there, but you had the business number one, and then you have your seasonal business, which is 5 years old. You're crushing it. Then you have this whole experience with Nourish.
Yeah.
And talk to me about how the different experiences, the different businesses have kind of, you know, molded, or like the growth that it's forced on you as a person.
That's really an interesting question. I would say like having our cows, I wasn't raised in ag. So moving into that was weird and uncomfortable. It wasn't hard. It was just different. And I learned a lot, but maybe a skill that didn't really matter. And then with Jackalope, I really figured out that I can literally do anything that I want to do. If I want to do it, I can do it. I learned a lot of like how to do different things with that, and kind of learned like I would rather be outside than anything, where before that I was like in an office in a cubicle with no windows and like dying in my own skin and didn't even know. And
fluorescent light.
Yes. Yeah. And just like it was awful. But kind of those two things combined, knowing that I can learn things and that I'm not afraid to learn new things, and I never really have been. And I think for in the beginning it was like more to impress my husband with the cows, but then with Jackalope it was like, no, even though I don't know what I'm doing, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And like that's like one problem I have with like my business partner with it. Like he's very smart with business, but he does not understand the industry. And so he'll try to tell me like, you need to do this and you need to do this. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
And so that business made me very strong in like, and confident in the way that I know how to do something and I'm going to do it because
trusting your instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just trusting myself, like, because I know what I'm talking about. I have no doubt in my mind that I know what I'm talking about with that business. And then I would say, with Nourish, that's a touchy subject. I just think like, I don't know what I've learned necessarily about myself through it. More of just like, I can learn this too. And it's really hard. And I don't know. I'd have to think about that one.
Maybe we add that to the questions when we do this in a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've gained confidence, but more of like going into it thinking I know what I'm talking about, getting into it, being like having imposter syndrome, bad, and now being pretty confident in what I'm doing and knowing that it's successful. I think actually I would say the biggest thing that I've learned is to be more intentional.
In what way?
Every way. Everything that I'm doing. It's a lot of with my family because it's taken so much time away from them.
Yeah.
And so being around them, and weirdly enough, I don't know if it's my second born child or the business, but I think has made me more patient. And I think it's both because she's a monster. She's not a monster. She's just really difficult. And I think that
she'll be the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's already written.
Is that your middle?
Yes.
Okay.
And that is
that's the thing.
Certainty.
Yeah.
Just so you know what your,
cool.
But your third will be great.
Yeah. I've heard it's the trophy.
Yeah. It'll be the reward.
Yeah. For all of your challenge.
Right.
But I think it's probably made me more intentional and it's made me realize what I really truly want with my life and how good I had it. And then I went and changed it all.
Darn you.
Yeah. So
if you had all of it to do over again, like it's an all or nothing question. Like you either can still have your job or both businesses.
Oh, wow.
Would you do it again?
Yeah. If it was like an all or nothing, yes.
Yeah.
If it was like do nourish or not, I don't think I would do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know though, because again, like the wonder, living in wonder, like what if I did?
Right.
And all the what ifs. At least now I know that I probably could have just not done it. But I'm going to keep going and I'm going to continue to offer it.
Well, yeah. And you wouldn't have had all the growth opportunities from it, all the lessons.
Yeah.
I'm sure I know how it is too when you're in the thick of it. Like there's not clarity yet. There will become a day though where I guarantee there's like so much that came from it. Plus it's working by the way. So give yourself a little credit on
No, and it's good that way. It's just what it's done to my brain.
Yeah.
Oh, like
I'm working on, I'm like legitimately in a nervous system rewiring moment. Like I've been telling my team and my wife and everything, it's like peace over profit. Like honestly,
yeah.
If somebody's going to be a pain in the butt client or rude to me or demanding or not respect, like I don't want it. Like we don't need the money anymore. Like we want to work with people that we like, that want to work with us, that appreciate us.
I think that's such a great accomplishment to get to a point in a service-based business where you can choose who you want to do business with.
And it took desperation to get there.
Yeah.
Cause like I've been a yes man forever. Like I want to help everyone. I would work with any business, any industry, any budget, like, whatever, like there'd be red flags all day.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
we'll do it. $2.
So, and I'm like, thinking like, well, maybe this one will be different. Maybe, and then after 5 years, I'm like, that one won't be different.
Mm-hmm.
I at least have learned that. But that it's interesting because I've been thinking a lot too about like what I'm chasing, and I'm definitely chasing money. Like there's no shame in that. Like I definitely am wanting, whether it's high income or a big exit someday or whatever, like I'm definitely chasing that. But I'm now in a new chapter where I want to spend like real time with my family.
Yeah.
And like be able to turn off my phone and not check my emails. And, so I think if nothing else, I've learned a lot of what I don't want, and then working towards with intentionality, the life that we do want.
Yeah.
And I don't know that you could get there without like feeling or experiencing, what the opposite feels like.
No, I don't think that you could unless somebody laid it out in front of you and said, here's your plan.
Right. In which case,
Yeah, you didn't learn anything.
Right.
Like you're just running a business.
You wouldn't appreciate it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm grateful for what I've learned.
And it's because I can tell that the entrepreneurial spark isn't out. Like I can tell that
I want it to be. Burn it out.
And I figure out how I'll tell them. I don't know. Like, obviously it's there. So I'm curious, like, you know, I don't know. And maybe it's because we're in the thick of it right now or whatever, but there's gotta be like what's on the horizon. You know what I mean? Like what, and not even anything specific, but you think about like 5 years from now or whatever. I'm imagining you're probably going to be juggling a couple businesses or doing something. Like, have you thought about, you know?
Yes, I've thought about it. I don't have a 5-year plan, but I've thought about like what my trajectory should be. And it's what I want is to be growing Jackalope Bakers in different aspects, having different festivals, doing weddings, like growing there and like making that my baby. And having a manager mostly be the one running Nourish.
Yeah.
And I would never want to be like owner absent after learning that was a bad idea to begin with. And I wasn't ever absent, but I wasn't, yeah. And I wasn't pushing the button.
Right.
And somebody else was
Right.
when it shouldn't have been happening. And so but my focus physically and where like I want to be is Jackalope, growing that, pushing that, and doing more there. And because I am a creative person, and I think that's where my entrepreneurship comes from, is like creating a business. Both businesses I have are super unique to, like, they're not just a common business that you have every day. And so I think that's where like it sparks my creativity to like create both of these businesses.
Yeah.
And with Jackalope, I can continue to use my creativity all the time.
Right.
And whether I'm creating a new festival or like planning an event or whatever it is, like I can use my creativity there. And that's where I think that's where my passion is doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
But not like sitting here doing like arts and crafts.
Right. I love it. Kristen, thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you.
It's fun it's just fun. And I'll just share with you that I can't wait to see where you go. Cause I know that you're just getting started. Like, I know that, there's 50 different paths that, potentially future holds and whatever, but it really is fun. It's inspiring to, I don't know, kind of live vicariously through you, and I see the creativity come to life and get to experience it is really fun for me. But then also just seeing kind of like this resiliency that you've got with, juggling the family and both businesses and, the networking groups and all that, and just showing up over and over and over again and making it happen. So I've got a gift for you. These are our Inspired by Example shirts.
Thank you.
Because you're inspiring by example.
I appreciate it.
And I hope that people see it and that it's
well, I guess that will be worth all of it.
Yeah.
As long as somebody does.
Yeah. People see it.
And people are like, I don't know how you're doing it all. Like, I'm not. Literally not. Right. Just dying in my head. It's fine.
Yeah. That's been great. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.